Okay, welcome back, folks. I have got a ridiculous story to tell you today. I need to cover everything that has happened over the last year with my 308 AR-10 build. It has been a nightmare. So let's just start at the beginning. It was April of 2018, exactly a year ago, when a bunch of viewer donations came in for me to build an AR-10. We went with an Aero Precision M5E1 setup. And I built uppers for 6.5 Creedmoor and for 308. 6.5 Creedmoor has been no problem. Ballistic Advantage actually gave us a barrel, and it's been a pretty darn good shooting barrel. So Creedmoor was easy. However, on the 308 side of things, it has been a nightmare. We started out with an 18-inch Ballistic Advantage barrel that a viewer named Aaron sent. He wasn't happy with the performance of this barrel and had pulled it out of his gun, so he decided to send it to me to see if I had any better luck with it. I didn't. It didn't last very long. We put a few rounds through it, did a couple videos, I think. The groups were huge, so we decided to pull it out. So that was barrel number one. Now, barrel number two is currently in this upper right here. It is a 20-inch JP Super Match barrel with a 1 in 10 twist. Now, I had extremely high hopes for this barrel. Like, JP makes good stuff, right? It's not that cheap. And they had these 1 in 10 twist barrels in their clearance section at the time. Their standard AR-10 308 barrel is a 1 in 11.25 inch twist. This is a 1 in 10 twist. It was in their clearance section for pretty cheap. It came with a JP high pressure bolt, which I was already going to buy, which that's like a $200 bolt. So we went with that. And I did a couple videos, and the results weren't great. Like, they were mixed, I guess you would say. We've shot some good groups with the JP barrel, but overall, it's just not that great. It's picky. I think it's a barrel where if you found the right powder and bullet combination, you could shoot reliably good groups. But trying to shoot a variety of bullet weights with a bunch of different powders, we were getting much more bad results than good. So that was barrel number two. So I decided to move on, because I told the audience, like, I was absolutely going to get a good shooting 308 together. I was fully committed. And when we were deciding on the barrel, and I decided to go with JP, the other top contender was Krieger. Now, Krieger's a lot more expensive. So when the JP didn't work out, I decided to go ahead and pick up a Krieger barrel. This is the barrel I bought. Here she is. This is a Krieger 20-inch barrel. They call this their M110 profile. This is a 1 in 11 twist. This barrel has 5 shots on it, and it's ruined. This happened back in the November, December time frame, 3 or 4 months ago, but I put this guy together. I went out to get it broken in, and the 6th shot I put through it got stuck in the chamber. Here's a picture of it in there. It went in, and it absolutely would not come out. I had to beat on my charging handle with a hammer until the rim of the case finally ripped off. Now, how did this happen? Like, I still don't have a good explanation. I think I know what happened. It's clear that the brass was just too tight for the chamber. But what I had done whenever I was going out to break this one in, I had some factory ammo available, but I also had a bunch of hand loads that I had loaded up for my Tikka 308 bolt action rifle. And I measured the headspace, and the headspace numbers on my Tikka loads would fit no problem in the Krieger. I think what I didn't account for was the body of the case. So I think the body portion of the chamber is just a little bit tighter than it was in my Tikka. So when this round got rammed up in there, the body portion of the brass and the chamber just got wedged in there extremely tight. I didn't think it was going to be a huge deal. I expected it to come out when I was beating on the charging handle, and it didn't. So I tore the gun apart. I got the barrel loose. I got it put in a vise. I put a cleaning rod down the muzzle and lightly started tapping on the cleaning rod. Every single time I hit it, I expected it to come flying out of there. But I beat on it, and I beat on it, and I kept on hitting it harder and harder to the point where I was really starting to get scared that I was going to set this stupid round off. So then it was time to go to a gunsmith. So I had the barrel loose. I had done some reading online, and I thought a gunsmith would be able to deal with it. Well, I called 4 different gunsmiths in my area. 3 of them wanted nothing to do with it. They completely refused the job. As soon as I said, hey, I've got a live round in an AR-10 barrel that I need to get out of there, they weren't interested at all, didn't want to deal with it. But there was one guy who said, sure, no problem, bring it on down. Well, as it turns out, he got this guy mounted up. He said he had a really nice fitting steel rod that would go down the bore. And when I dropped it off, he seemed extremely confident. Like, yeah, we'll just put that steel rod down in there and it'll pop right out, no big deal. He bent his steel rod. completely ruined and bent his steel rod. I have no idea how in the hell a piece of brass gets stuck in a chamber as tight as this one is. So it survived a charging handle beating, and then me beating on it with a cleaning rod, and then a gunsmith pushing a solid steel rod against it, and it bent it. It's crazy. So at that point, I'm screwed, man. This is a $600 barrel. I've wasted so much freaking money. $600, $590. But what option did I have at that point? Keep, looking for different gunsmiths? And what I started worrying about was, okay, I was beating on it, and the gunsmith was beating on it, and everybody's been beating on it. What the hell does the crown look like now? Or if I finally do get, the round out of the chamber, what's the rifling going to look like? And I decided to just go ahead and buy another one. And right about that same time, like I mentioned, that was in December. It was coming up to the end of the year, and at work, I had some leftover vacation that I was planning to use. Well, we got busy and I wasn't able to take it, and they buy back your unused vacation days, and it came out to about $600. So that's kind of how I justified it. It's like, okay, I'm an idiot. I wasn't careful enough with my resizing. I screwed up a $600 barrel, but I've got this $600 that I wasn't expecting to have, so we'll just call it a life lesson and move on. So here is barrel number 4. This is another Krieger, exactly like the one that I destroyed. Now the drama doesn't stop here, because when I went back to buy another Krieger, I thought I went through the exact same process on the website of picking out the options that I want, like the M110 profile and the 1 in 11 twist and stainless steel. But when I received my barrel at the end of January, I took it out of the sleeve and it wasn't threaded. So I screwed up my order. So I immediately called them and said, hey, I got this brand new barrel. It's not threaded. I meant to buy a threaded one. Can I send it back and have you thread it? Well, they were very good about it. They actually just said, as long as you haven't installed it or anything like that, just ship it back and we'll send you a completely different barrel. We've got ones that are already threaded. So I shipped that one off and then finally got this correct one. Now, hopefully you saw the video. I'm posting it right here at the same time as I'm posting this video, where I do a bit of a range shootout between this Krieger barrel and the JP barrel. The Krieger barrel looks like a really good shooter, So I think finally, a year after this AR-10 project started, I think I've finally got a good 308 upper, and we can start hopefully cranking out some 308 videos. Now, another thing that really slowed this whole process down is when you're buying a barrel from Krieger, you better not be in a hurry. And I knew this going in. I think they make barrels to order, and they seem to kind of go through cycles. Like when I ordered my first barrel, it was shipped almost immediately. And then the second barrel took like 3 weeks. And then this barrel took a little over a month. So a couple months of wait time just as I was trying to order these barrels from Krieger. So don't be in a hurry. So that accounts for a bit of this delay. And then a couple months of wondering what in the hell am I going to do with this barrel that I completely destroyed. Like this was extremely frustrating. As I mentioned, it's a ton of money, and I just felt like the world's biggest dumbass when I screwed this barrel up. Now, the first person in the comments who tells me I should put it in the freezer is going to get pistol whipped. I've been through everything with this. I've done everything I possibly can to get this round out of the chamber. But if you guys have any advice that isn't put it in the freezer or soak it in penetrating oil, I'd be happy to hear it. Here's the only thing I can think, because right now it's a complete waste of time, and to be honest, it's a bit of a safety concern, right? I've got a barrel with a live round in it. I don't want to leave it laying around. Here's my thought. What if we took the 6 PPC, which can shoot itty bitty tiny little groups. It can put a bullet exactly where we want it. So let's say we put the barrel down at 100 yards, align it very closely, and then we shoot the primer with a 6 PPC. Because that's all it takes, man. I just need the stupid round to go off. Because if this was fired brass, we could basically remove it just like we remove a stuck case from a die. We drill out the primer pocket, we thread it, and then, I don't know, we stack up some like fender washers maybe or something here on the barrel extension and just pull it right out. I could probably use my RCBS stuck case remover tool to do it. Now, there is a stuck case remover that Brownells sells that's like jaws that reach down and grab the brass and pull it, but it will not fit inside of an AR-10 barrel extension. So that's not really an option for us. One thing the gunsmith said, was, well, if he had the tools to remove the barrel extension, which he didn't, he could remove the barrel extension and then get a removal tool on it. But from everything I've read, like removing a barrel extension and then getting it reinstalled is an extremely delicate task of trying to get everything put back together properly and the gas port aligned and all of that crap. And like I mentioned, I'm really worried about the condition of the crown and the barrel anyway, from all of that beating I was doing on it. So I don't know. It seems like I don't want to put any more money into it, right? But if we can get that primer to go off in a safe fashion, then maybe we can play around with it a little bit more. I did find some people online talking about like drilling a hole next to the primer down to the powder, and then they use like oil or something to neutralize the powder. The gunsmith didn't want anything to do with that. He said he's not putting a drill next to that live primer. Not going to happen. And I'm certainly not going to do it either. So it's a mess, man. I got myself into big trouble here. But I guess the good news is the only thing it took to get out of trouble is another $600 to buy another barrel. It was painful, but that's the way I decided to go. So that's about where we'll leave this one, folks. One thing, when I got the new Krieger barrel, I picked up a small base sizing die, an RCBS small base sizing die for 308. I'm not planning to shoot any brass in this barrel that has been shot in another gun. Maybe as I learn about it a little bit more, we'll cross that bridge at some point and maybe try and better characterize how I screwed up so bad on this one. But at this point, I'm starting with new brass. I'm resizing with a small base sizing die, and things seem okay so far. I am tearing up so much brass. Like through this whole AR-10 308 drama that I've had going on, I have torn up so much brass. If you watch the other video where I range tested this, you'll see that I shot a couple hand loads and they were all with Reloader 15. This is the best powder I've found so far for brass life. Like a lot of the other, I've been doing quite a bit of shooting off camera, trying to get all this crap figured out. Like I was trying some Reloader 17, man, it was just destroying brass. So I'm looking forward to sharing my testing from this point forward. And I have a feeling we're going to find that there's a small window of powders that provide just the right amount of gas pressure and all of the timing just right to get the AR-10 to cycle well and not screw up your brass. I don't know, still lots of work to do. I hate doing work off camera. Like that's kind of the whole point of this channel, is I enjoy sharing my troubles and my frustrations and my failures, and so we can all learn together. The problem with 308 up to this point has been the results and everything were just so bizarre and weird and terrible that I don't think any of us could have learned together. It was just putting out a bunch of bad info. So I hope you'll forgive me for kind of straightening my 308 crap out off camera and then now showing up with hopefully a good shooting platform. There are a couple bullets that I am extremely excited to start testing with. The first is the 167 grain Lapua Sinar. If you saw the other video, this shot a 5-shot group of 0.4 inches. So the Krieger really seems to love the 167 grain Sinar. Now, one surprisingly good shooting ammo was Hornady American Whitetail. Yeah, this side right here. This is the 165 grain interlock. This guy shot a 0.57 inch group, 5 shots. So we might have to try out the 165 grain interlock at some point. That'd be a good hunting option. The 168 grain Sierra Match King in the Federal Gold Medal Match ammo. This stuff shot really well. Shot a 0.79 inch group. So I want to try out some 168 grain Sierra Match Kings and see if we can duplicate the performance we saw with the Federal factory ammo. And speaking of that, the JP barrel actually shot a better group than the Krieger with this stuff. It shot a 0.48 inch group. So like I mentioned, the JP barrel has shot some good groups. It just occasionally shoots like 3+ inch groups. So just inconsistent, it seems like. So eventually what I'll do is I want to give away that JP barrel eventually, but I want to hold on to it for a little bit, because if we learn some stuff here in the short term with the Krieger, I want to be able to go back to that JP and maybe find out why it isn't shooting as well as I expect. So eventually I want to give away the JP. I can give away the Ballistic Advantage that Aaron sent. So look out for that in a couple months maybe. And another thing, because I had my second Aero Precision upper set was it's been stuck in this 308 mode because I was trying to do these comparison videos, and then that's dragged on for 6 months. You haven't seen any 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10 stuff because I didn't have, the upper parts. So I'm looking forward to getting this JP barrel out of this upper, get the Creedmoor stuff in here, and then hopefully we can fire up this 6.5 Creedmoor videos again soon as well. So that's about it, folks. I think we'll leave it here. Let me know what you think about shooting this dude with 6 PPC. That seems like it might be fun. And I appreciate you joining me. I'll see you guys next time.